ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلوات الله عليه وسلامه وعلى آله وأصحابه ومن استنى بسنته أجمعين. يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. أما بعد. عباد Allah, we will continue with our highlighting unity between Muslims as we have done so in previous khutbah. We've spoken about many things throughout the past weeks, and mainly about those things that unite us and bring us together. And this is something that we are in most dire need of as an ummah. Until when is the ummah going to continue to be divided? Until when is the ummah going to continue to be ununified? When is the time going to come where we are going to set our differences aside? Recognize that some of those differences that we are magnifying or we're making a big deal out of aren't actually that great. And the unifying factors are far greater than those things that separate us as groups within the ummah. And those things that do separate us, whilst some of them might be significant, they are worth talking about, they are worth coming to the table and coming to some sort of understanding about. When are we going to realize that in our tafarruq, in our disunity, is our true weakness as a people? When do we realize the statement of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that when we are disunited, when we do divide, when we do turn our backs on each other as a result of the differences that we may have as in terms of our opinions and our understanding, as a result of the differences that we may have with regards to application, as the differences that we may have as a result of the strategy that we have moving forwards in order to address a issue or a problem. All of these things are normal, all of these things are fine, and we spoke about in the previous khutbah that this all comes as a result of the طبيعة الخلاف في البشر, the basic, the very natural predisposition of the difference of human beings that you guys are. Everybody in this room has a different place that they come from, a different origin and a different way of understanding. Everybody in this room has a different way of speaking and enunciating. Everybody in this room has a different way of communicating their feelings, their emotions, their ideas, a different language that they use and a different wording that they will use. In this difference of communication and in this difference of speaking with each other is going to be a difference of understanding as a result. So that is standard amongst human beings. We are always going to differ. وَلَا يَزَالُونَ مُخْتَلِفِينَ إِلَّا مَنْ رَحِمَ رَبُّهُم. And we are always going to differ, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has stated. وَلِذَلِكَ خَلَقَهُم. And this is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created us, because of our difference, so that we can come to some sort of understanding and some sort of unification in spite of the differences. Remember that always. Differences are always going to be there. And we as Muslims are supposed to unite and come together in spite of those differences. Not at the lack of or because they disappear. It's because we understand where they come from and the reality of those differences. So what unites us together in spite of the different tongues, different languages, different colors is our iman. And we spoke about that last week. But there's elements of our actions and our practice. The way a Muslim carries himself and herself, that is also what unites us. No matter where you go in the Muslim world, if you see someone doing certain actions, you know that your heart is content with regards to that person's belief and state of being. You know 100% that this person, he believes in Allah, or she believes in Allah, she believes in the last day, and that is why they are doing these acts and these practices that nobody else is doing. When you see someone facing a certain direction, when you see them raising their hands, when you see them saying certain statements in Arabic, even though their mother tongue might not be in Arabic, but you see them doing those things, you have a surety in your heart that I am connected to this person regardless of what other ideas emanate from this person, regardless of what other booky things that they start talking about. I know that I have a connection with that person, and that connection means something because it's connected to Allah, the one who created me and them. Tamam? When we see them alleviating themselves, parting with their wealth that they love so much, that they hold so dear, that they feel that that's what gives them some sort of identity, some sort of statement, some sort of position in this world. The more wealth you have, the more you are respected, the more you are loved, the more you are able to do things, the more other people show you that reverence and that respect. The less you have of all those things, and so on and so forth, right? So we see it as a status symbol. But Muslims, no matter where they are, no matter how they are always willing to depart with this thing that they love the most. لَن تَنَالُوا الْبِرَّ حَتَّى تُنْفِقُوا مِمَّا تُحِبُّونَ. That you will never acquire piety, righteousness, closeness with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala until you depart from that which you love the most. For some of us, it is our wealth. In fact, for all of us, it is our wealth. And for some of us, it is other things as well. But the second you part away from that is the second that you are on the path to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. No matter where you go in the world, you see someone who parts with their wealth for that reason, for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, even though they love it the most, even though they perhaps need it, or their families need it, they are willing to part ways with that for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for the love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and hoping and seeking the pleasure and mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is powerful. No matter where I go in the world and I see someone who does that, I know that I am connected with them on a higher level. You see someone abstaining from food and drink. I'm going through the 5 pillars of Islam here, unless you haven't caught on already. Ramadan, you see someone abstaining from their food and drink and from things that they are supposed to do in order to survive. No matter where I go in the world and I see people do that, at the same time that I'm doing that, I know that I have a connection with them, and I know that connection far succeeds and far supersedes any other type of connection I might have with them. And I see someone who's willing to part ways with their wealth, with their time, with their very things that deem who they are with regards to their clothing, and go on a pilgrimage and go to a place where they don't live and they don't reside and they're not going to stay forever, and they spend all of that money and all of that time and go through all of that hardship and abstain from things that don't even make sense. Why should I not wear perfume when I go on Hajj? What does that even mean, to not wear perfume when I go on Hajj? Why am I not allowed to hunt? I don't even hunt to eat. I go to a chicken shop and buy a chicken burger. I don't need to hunt, but still I'm told it's haram to hunt. What is all of this? I don't even understand it, but in spite of me not understanding it, in spite of me not getting it, in spite of me not understanding why I go around the tawaf anti-clockwise and not clockwise, why is it that I go through Safa and Marwa and I go up and down 7 times and not 8? I have no idea. All I know is that the Prophet ﷺ told me that if I love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and I want to meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and He is happy with me, I must do these actions, and that is why I do that. And I see millions and millions of people doing exactly the same thing as me, and when I see them do that, I am motivated, I am empowered, I feel connected to them, even though I know that I will never meet them ever again. I will never cross paths with them when they go back to their countries and when they go back to their families. I will never see them, they will never see me, and we will have no connection whatsoever. But I know that I am connected to them in spite of all of that, because of what they do. Brothers and sisters, isn't this something that is great? Isn't this something that is insurmountable with regards to our unity? Now tell me, me and you, perhaps we differ on the sifa of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What is it? Maybe we differ with regards to who should have been the right Khalifa or not. Was it Abu Bakr or was it Ali? I don't know. All of these other things, are they not better? Are they not higher unifying factors? Do they not bring us together in a way more powerful way than any other type of difference? Now, it's not to put not to beat down those differences. That's not to say that they're insignificant and they don't matter. What I'm trying to say is that what brings us together is far greater. Now, there are always going to be mushaghibun. There are always going to be those people who thrive on us being disunited. There are always going to be people who are going to sit here today and they're going to get happy as a result of you guys disunited. You not speaking to him, he not speaking to you, this guy not praying behind you, me not praying behind Fulan, and that sort of thing. They love it. They love it when we look at each other and we're like, you're Lebanese, so it's okay for the Israelis to bomb you and do all of this page and stuff. Or there's Christians and there's Shia there as well and stuff like that. So yallah, go wild and kill them all and we'll be happy. La. Udwan is udwan. There are the mubiqat as-sab'. One of the other things that all Muslims unite upon is the 7 deadly sins. In fact, other non-Muslims even unite upon this as well. Shirk billah. Anybody that worships other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we know 100% out the window. If someone kills someone without haqq, there is no right for them to have their blood spilled. There is no right for them to be killed. They haven't killed anybody else. There's no war going on. They've been murdered. Everybody on the face of this earth knows that that's wrong. That's what unites us as well. And when we see that stuff going on over there in Lebanon, what, they got tired in Gaza and khalas, they've killed enough people there, so then they start in Lebanon? Is that what's going on? Okay, what happens when they finish with Lebanon? Are they going to go to Jordan after that? And then when they finish with Jordan, what are they going to go? Go to Saudi and then go to Egypt, and then what, they're going to take over the entire, have hegemony over the entire area? When is the udwan going to stop? And who is going to stop that? Only we are going to stop that, right? the people who care about the situation, who have some sort of credence, some sort of purchase with regards to what's going on over there. But as long as we remain divided, as long as we remain sitting down on our couches and just observing, casually observing what's going on, nothing will ever change. No udwan will ever stop. And in fact, what's worse is we're just casual armchair critics, and some of us aren't even casual armchair critics. We are casual armchair watchers. We're enjoying what's going on. We're happy at the fact that certain things are taking place. There are people from amongst us that are like that. So there's always going to be mushaghibun. There are always going to be people who are going to exacerbate the issues between us Muslims. What do? We tell them, shut your mouth, bruv. You be quiet. You don't talk. If it isn't about us coming to the table and coming to some sort of arrangement where it is in the best interest of everybody, then don't chat. You sit to the side. You go and talk about your ta'ifiyah over there in the corner. In fact, not even in the building, outside. You don't chat to any of us, because we are all working to try and come together and try and move forward as an ummah. Anybody that talks about the opposite and says, no, we need to stay divided until everybody follows my way and my way only, until everybody agrees with me and me only, until everybody accepts my interpretation of Islam and my interpretation of how things should be run, then only we'll be united. La ya habibi. No, it's not a dictatorship either. We need to come together as an ummah. We need to talk together. وَاعْتَصِمُوا بِحَبْلِ اللَّهِ جَمِيعًا وَلَا تَفَرَّقُوا. We need to hold fast to the rope of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We need to be inspired by the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the sunnah of the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And any type of division that pushes us against each other, that pits us against each other, we have to recognize that that is not from the sunnah of the Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. In fact, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ فَرَّقُوا دِينَهُمْ وَكَانُوا شِيَعًا لَسْتَ مِنْهُمْ فِي شَيْءٍ. Those who split up the religion and as a result split up the Muslims, those who do this, right, and they become groups one to another, to the point where they identify themselves with the group that they attribute themselves to. So to the point where that if you are not part of that group, you're not upon the haqq, you're not going to Jannah, you're not part of the mu'minun, you're not part of the Muslimun. Anybody who does that, Ya Rasulullah, lasta minhum fi shay', you're not a part of them at all. You are not associated with them at all, even if they associate themselves to you. So if anybody's doing this, we know what to do. But if anybody's doing the opposite, we also know what to do. Last point is that we're not naive either. Not everybody who calls to unity and let's come together as Muslims, we need to be united and stuff like that. Not everybody's telling the truth with regards to that claim. Some people, they want to say, yeah, let's be united, and there are ulterior motives with regards to their claims. So neither we are naive, but we are not destructive with regards to how we deal with each other. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow us to recognize the strength of our unity, what we have in our hearts and in our minds, what we have in our deen, and the power that has inside of itself, to utilize that to bring us together, inshaAllah ta'ala, so that we can have a prosperous future, one that is righteous also for our children and our children's children as well, inshaAllah ta'ala. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. Bismillah, walhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah, wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man wala, wa ba'd. Ibadallah, any type of change, any type of moving forwards that we want to see, any type of change that we want to see in ourselves, but also in others as well, because we know that we don't have any power over our own selves, let alone others, right? All of the tawfiq is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we want to see this change, especially on such a massive level, on a ummatic level, right? Across the world. That stuff can only come with the tawfiq of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now it is already there. Millions, if not billions, have this idea in their mind already. And I'm sure that unity is something on everybody's mind, and that nobody in this room, in this building, anywhere across the world, anywhere across the Muslim world, should I say, disagrees with. But it's about making the steps to get there. And those steps can only be taken, and those goals can only be achieved by the tawfiq of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the tawfiq of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala only comes through subservience, obedience, worship, and recognizing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is in control of all of those things. And if you do that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will show you the way. وَالَّذِينَ جَاهَدُوا فِينَا لَنَهْدِيَنَّهُمْ سُبُلَنَا. And one of those ways in which we can do mujahada, one of those ways in which we can connect with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is with our du'as and our supplications to Him. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has put throughout time certain time zones, certain places, certain times that are special to Him subhanahu wa ta'ala, that if He is asked in those times, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will respond to us and grant us that which we are looking for. One of those times is the day of Jummah. There is an hour on the day of Jummah called Sa'at al-Istijaba, in which if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is asked of anything in that hour, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala responds to our du'as. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from the bottom of our hearts and with the utmost sincerity to forgive our sins, overlook our shortcomings, save us from the punishment of the hellfire. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. ربنا ظلمنا أنفسنا وإن لم تغفر لنا وترحمنا لنكونن من الخاسرين. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما يا رب العالمين. اللهم وحد صفوفنا يا رب العالمين. اللهم ألف بين قلوبنا يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم اجعلنا أمة واحدة يا أرحم الراحمين على قلب رجل واحد يا أكرم الأكرمين. اللهم انصر إخواننا المستضعفين في غزة. اللهم انصر إخواننا المستضعفين في فلسطين. اللهم انصر إخواننا المستضعفين في لبنان. اللهم انصر إخواننا المستضعفين في السودان وفي كل مكان يا رب العالمين. اللهم وفقنا لكل عمل تحبه وترضاه يا رب العالمين واجعلنا من المصلحين. وصل اللهم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. عباد الله رحمكم الله، إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون. واذكروا الله العلي الجليل يذكركم واشكروه يزدكم ولذكر الله أكبر والله يعلم ما تصنعون.